Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that has me absolutely baffled, and that S, because recently a secret. 1842 tunnel was discovered under a pub in Wales. But what makes this so crazy is how on earth did it take until 2022 to discover it? So today we going to explore exactly how this happened and why everyone is still arguing about who owns it. Before we get started, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I bring you new videos every single week about hidden history from around the world. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to join the family. And with that said, let's get into the video. So without further ado, let's begin. As mentioned in the intro, this video is about a mysterious tunnel that was only just discovered. But before I explain the details surrounding it, let's talk about the backstory. This story takes us to the village of Portgone in Wales. Here we can see that this was a very small community nestled between Snowdonia National Park and the sea. It was quite literally just a quiet village with a handful of houses and not much else. But this would all change when the railways came along. And with them, the nearby quarry industry boomed. Portgone became an essential stop on the route from the quarries to the ships, and it saw rapid growth as a result. During its peak, it boasted many pubs, hotels, and inns, serving tired travelers and hard-working laborers. One of these was called the Ship Inn, which sits right on the water, and this is our main focus for today. Built in 1842, it was a traditional-style pub with rooms above and below the ground floor. For over 100 years, this remained the same, completely unchanged. It had a clientele of quarry workers and tradesmen passing by on their way home. However, in the mid-20th century, the area began to decline. The slate industry shrunk, and with it the need for transport, and subsequently the need for places to rest at this juncture. The once busy tavern became a shadow of its former self. By the 1960s, it had closed down altogether, and according to local reports, it had been empty ever since. Fast forward to 2021, when the building was sold to a businessman. He wanted to restore it to its former glory and reopen it as a successful restaurant and guest house. So he purchased it, made his plans, and got to work. Not long after, he noticed something odd while doing renovations. There seemed to be a strange wall within the cellar that was unload-bearing and didn't appear to be holding up anything at all. Now this piqued his interest, but it wasn't until later that he decided to do something about it. In October 2021, while filming the demolition of the wall, he posted it online to show off his progress. But little did he know what was about to happen next. After breaking through the wall, they found a small tunnel running beneath the street. At first it was barely wide enough for a person to fit through, but it did open up as it progressed. But that wasn't the most peculiar thing about it. As they went further and further along, they could make out that the walls were lined with slate, which hadn't been touched since 1842. At this point, it had been covered over for more than 80 years, completely forgotten and lost to history. It was amazing that it took this long to find, but it makes sense considering how it was filled in. Now that the tunnel had been discovered, he had a decision to make. He had originally intended to convert the building into a luxury bed and breakfast, but now this unique feature had been discovered. He wanted to use it to his advantage. He believed that the tunnel had been part of the 19th century slate trade and wanted to convert the tunnel into a grotto bar and cocktail lounge. He thought that it would draw in customers who wanted to experience a piece of history while sipping on a drink. But this would not be as easy as he hoped. The reason being that the local council believed that the tunnel actually belonged to them and not the property. This was because they claimed that it ran underneath a public road, and therefore the contents and structure belonged to them. But the owner of the property claimed that this was wrong, stating that he owned everything that fell beneath his roofline. To make matters worse, nobody was 100% certain as to what the tunnel was used for in the first place. It could have been used to store beer and wine, maybe even other goods that needed to be hidden away. Or perhaps it was used to smuggle items during wartime. Even the local historian was unsure and urged caution. All of this led to a bit of a dilemma. The owner wanted to turn it into a trendy speakeasy, but the council had different ideas. They sent in experts to inspect and declared that the tunnel would have to be filled in for safety reasons. Thankfully, after a huge outcry from locals and media attention from across the country, the council changed their mind. It seems that everyone was excited to have something interesting in the town again, and they didn't want it to disappear. After realizing the value of this discovery, they agreed to let the owner continue with his plan. Historians visited the site to inspect the tunnel, but what they found surprised them. On the floor was a cart containing crates and bottles from the 1960s, proving that it had been used after that year. One of the historians claimed that the slate lining meant that it was unlikely that it was used for smuggling. Instead, he believed that it may have been used as a loading bay during the transition from rail to road. Another popular theory is that it was used simply to store goods, perhaps slates, as there was a quarry very close by. Despite all of these theories, we may never really know what it was used for. What we do know is that it was built in 1842 and remained in use up until at least 1961. After that, it was completely forgotten. Nobody alive today knows exactly what it was used for. Sadly, the people who likely would have known have passed away. But this isn't the only twist to the tale. After the media frenzy died down and the tunnel was secure, some locals came forward claiming that they knew something was there all along. One local man said that he remembered playing near the entrance as a child, and another recalled that their mother used to tell them that the pub was built over a tunnel. It seems that it wasn't too much of a secret after all. In fact, it's likely that there are many more just like this all across the UK waiting to be discovered. They're covered over, forgotten, and lost to time. But every now and then one gets uncovered by accident, and we get a little closer to understanding how those before us used to live. This tunnel was incredibly well preserved. It's completely lined with slate and features a brick arch at the far end. It gives us a rare insight into what life was like during the Industrial Revolution and shows how hard people had to work back then. And with that said, let's recap the main points of today's video. We learned about a secret tunnel that was built in 1842 and only just discovered in 2021. We also learned about the legal drama that ensued as a result. And finally, we learned that the tunnel itself may have been used as part of the 19th century slate trade. However, we may never really know for sure, but with all the mystery and intrigue surrounding this place, I think it is safe to say that it will remain a popular tourist attraction for years to come. With all that said, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe and join the family. I bring you new videos every single week about hidden history from around the world. And with that said, here's another couple of videos you might be interested in watching next. And with that said, until next time, this is Breeze Bangla, where hidden stories find light. Thank you so much for watching.